Hello together. Because of a recent project, I want to give you some information about how to set up different ThingWorx servers into a federation model. Federation does mean you can install different ThingWorx servers. Maybe you install some ThingWorx servers on a plant level, then you have some ThingWorx servers on the factory, or then also maybe above a ThingWorx server or more on a corporate level where you gather information. So these ThingWorx servers normally are totally independent. And what you can do is you can bring these ThingWorx servers into federation. This does mean that for specified objects, you are able to transfer properties and services from one ThingWorx server to another. And I want to show you now how to set this up in a secure environment, because sometimes it's a little bit tricky, and this should be a guidance how to do this one. So let's close this PowerPoint and go to the system. So we have open some cases anyhow. So let's start on the ThingWorx server. So I have two ThingWorx servers. One is called this elogm. So this is my target server. So this should be a corporate server who will receive information. And this is a cloud server over here. This is a server who should send information and would be more or less my client server. So what we do first is the client connects to the master. So this is the direction of the connection. This does mean that this client will connect to this server. As always, you need an application key. So we're creating an application key on our target. Call it Federation 2. I will take the administrator. I know this is not the best choice, but for a demo purpose, this is fine. And the key will be valid until tomorrow. Now I save this one, and now I have here an application key I can use. Taking this application key, we are now going to our federation server. And we're going here bottom down to our subsystems, and there is the federation subsystem. So what we need to do on the federation subsystem is here we can add servers. This will we do in a second. First of all, we will name here in our target server. We also go to the federation subsystem. Let's go to the federation subsystem and give this server a name. So we can name it synology.me. So it must have a name, and it's important for the connection that this name is the same when we configure it on the other side. So just this is the target system. And now we're going to the source system. We name this client. And we say, okay, we want to make a connection. Now we take our password. This is the app key. And we say we want to go to this Synology ME server. So this is correct. And the connection string here is g.me, and the port is 3444. And I want to publish as an administrator. So here you can also say which user is used for publishing the things. So then all the rights will take place. I will add this one and save it. So if you have saved it, it normally starts to create the connection. And to see if the connection is really running, we will go to our application log and make a refresh on the application log. And here we see federation endpoint open for server, and we see successfully reconnecting done. So there is a connection to the server. We can also take a look on the target side. So if we go on our target server, there is under the monitoring subsystem. We can also take a look on the federation. And here we see our server client is there. So we have a federation server client, which is connected. And we see, oh, this was not intended, but we see we already have one item which is published by the other server, but we will create our own things that we will publish here. So now everything went very well, so we get directly the connection, and there is some prerequisites for getting to this point. And especially if you are using the so-called SSL connection. Let's go to our subsystems again. So we see here in our subsystem, this is a VSS connection. So this is a secure connection to the ThingWorx server. And in this case, we have to take care about our certificates and how this all works together. I want to show you how to do this one because most of the people just didn't get this one. So this is our sending server, so we don't care about this one because that's not a problem. This is our target server. So, and here we must be able that the source system can make a secure connection to this target system. So first of all, let's start how to configure the target system. If we go to the target system, there is in the Tomcat, we have the Tomcat conf directory, and there you will see our server XML. The server XML contains information regarding the connector and regarding a keystore. Yeah, and you see that the keystore file here is in the conf.keystore and the password is change.me. And this is the container that the Tomcat engine is using for creating this certificate. How to build such a container? So how to build this keystore? Yeah, if you don't have one, how to build it? So you are starting a very, very nice tool for dealing with keys and all the certificates is the Keystore Explorer. This is freeware, so very cool tool. Just create a new key file. So we're using the JCEKS. That's the standard format for Java. And what we first try is we have from our server our different keys. So we have our private key, which is from the authority. We have our certificate, and we have this chain. So the private key, if we go on the certificate, we see this is the server here. There we need a private key. This is the chain, and this is the root certificate, which hopefully also Java knows. So what we have to do to make this working, yeah, you see it is working, but how to make it working is in this case we are importing, in this case an OpenSSL key pair, and we say this is our private key here, and this is our certificate here, and we import it. There is no password on this one, and we give it a name like Tomcat 8.5. And the password is change.me. Must be the same like configured in the server XML, otherwise you are not able to access the file. Now we have imported the key, and you will see the double click here is the key, and it's trusted, and it is also with the private key, so we have a private key for this one. Now, if we save this one here to our file, to this keystore file, which was configured in the server XML, it will work for a browser. So you will get exactly to this place, and it will work for a browser. You're getting no certificates error, that's all fine. But it will not work on the Java. And the reason for this one is you see here in the certificate, we have a path, so there is a chain inside. And you can here see on this one, there is no chain. we have to add the chain to make it all working. So we have to edit the chain and append a certificate. And this is what here comes with the chain. This is the Let's Encrypt certificate. So if we now take a look on the certificate, we have the complete chain up to the root certificate. And the root certificate, this is already installed in the Java, so we don't have to care about this one. If we now save this file to our Keystore, then everything is fine and will work. So what happens if you have a self-signed certificate? Yeah, so you have not a certificate like me from an official organization, which Java already knows. So you have something from a self-signed certificate. Where did you import the trusted root certificate? So in this case, you have to go to the server itself, and you will find on the Java installation under GRE lib security a file called cacerts. These are the certificates that Java knows, and these are certificates that were used for the connection. So let's open the Keystore Explorer again here, close this one, and drag and drop the certificates here. Change it as the default password over here. Whoops, again. And here now we see all the certificates. Yeah, and there is also the certificate inside that the Let's Encrypt is validated. So this will work. If you have your own certificate here, you need to import your certificate as a trusted certificate. So for example, you say my certificate, which you can export. Here you just import again. Yeah. So if you say, okay, I go to the Let's Encrypt certificate, and then you say export, and you import it here, then you can make the same stuff. So let's see if, so after that, everything is fine. Just make a restart. So because otherwise the servers don't know each other. So after the restart, we're having now the connection, and now let's start configure and make some cool stuff with the federation. And I'll give you some ideas how the federation will work. So let's go to our system. Let's starting with a project. Let's name it federation. So everything goes to the federation. This is my project. Okay, now let's create something. Let's name it my thing. Now, my thing. This is, we just take a simple one, just a generic thing. Save it. My thing one, fine. And we give it some properties. So just let me name it string number 1, which is a string, and number 1, which is a number, and that's for it. We save it. Okay, setting the number to 100, and this one to hello world. So far so good. So now we have one thing on the federation system. If I want to have a thing published, I need to go to the general information and click on this publish one. Oh, just 1 second. Something that you should never do. Don't click if you define something. Always make it persistent. Otherwise, you're losing your information if you save the things like this one. So now, once again, hello world. Just save it. And now we go to the general information and say, I want to publish this one, and save it. Now the thing itself and all of the information is published. So we can see on the receiving, so this is the receiving monitor. Now we think my thing one client one. This is the thing which is now published and I can use. So now in the target system, let's do the same. Create a project, new federation master. I always take some projects so that my things will go into the right projects. So now make a new thing. Name it copy from client. Nope, not this one. A new thing. And we name it copy from client. And now it's important that we say this is a remote thing. Yeah, so it needs to be a remote thing that it knows it will get values from somewhere outside. Let's save it. Now we have the ability on the identifier to see what are remote things are available. And I say I want to check this one. So this is my remote thing I want to connect. And you see, as soon as I save now, this red icon will hopefully go to green. So this is now connected with the myThing client, and I can use this item. If I go to properties, you don't see the properties from you don't see all properties from the object. So now you can decide which of the properties you want to see. Important here is you need to have the same names. Yeah. So if you say this is number one and this is a number, and you want to have it remotely bound, and this also from number one, then this is a remote bounded property. Why is the value 0 and not, as you said it here, 100? Just easy explanation. If you take a look on the bindings, you will see that when it's disconnected, which is also when you save it, it's disconnected and restarts, it ignores the values that are changing, and it uses just the value that was there before. So if you want to make it different, so also the start type, use default value. I say, please read the edge value. So in this case, if I now save it, it reads the edge value and I get the 100 from the underlying system. Now I do the same with the string. So adding string 1. And also here say this is remotely bound, this is string 1. And also here, please read the edge value first. So in this case, if I save the one, you will see it should be hello world. The cool thing of the federation is now whenever you change a value here, say hello world number 1, you will see on the other side it is also hello world number 1. And it works in both directions. So if you change here the values to 10, you will see on the other side the value is also changed to 10. So it's a bidirectional connection between these two servers on values. If you, and this is very important, the names must be the same. So if I add something and say this is my value and this is a number and this is remote bound to number 1 and start type read the edge value, so like this one, save it and refresh, you will see it's 10. Okay, that's fine. Now we're going here, changing the value to 100. Going back, make a refresh, and we see this value is updated, but this value don't update. Yeah, you see a mismatch between what it should be and what it is. And the reason for this one as far as I can see, is the variables in this case must have the same name. Yeah, so with number 1, the name must be number 1. So this is the only difference, so that it's not the same name. And therefore, please put in the same name to get it a bidirectional connection. Now we're making some nice additions, because it does not work only for properties, it also works for services. So let's go on the source. So we have a number 1, let's add a number 2, which is also a number, and make it persistent. And save this one. And now I create a service to change this number 2. Yeah, so let's create a service and rename it numbers. The input is value 1, which is a number, and value 2, which is also a number. And what we do is we just setting the, we have no output, so we'd say, okay, no output, just doing something. We say me dot, save and continue. Me dot number 2 is equal value 1 plus value 1 plus value 2. Just a simple script just to explain what happens. So just take a look on the execution. So we say this is 100 and this is 50. We execute one, we get no results. And you see on the properties page, this is 150. So very easy. And what we're doing right now is we're going to our remote portal. This one doesn't work, so we just delete this one because we don't need stuff that don't work. And just add number 2, which is a number which is remotely bound. Number 2, and start type read from the edge. Okay, and save. Now we have the number 2. So on the services side, we can do something similar. So we can take this add number drop to create a service. So this is the add number service on the remote side. And my local name is add numbers local. Done. And you see the input is value 1 and value 2. So what I can do right now is now I'm on the remote side and I can execute this service on the remote side. So just give you an impression what happens. So I can say 25 plus 50 and execute this service. And this service is now executed on the remote side. And I will see on the property side is a 75. Yeah, so I'm able to execute services on the remote side and then directly push it back. Yeah, so here you have also the ability to transfer services onto your local objects to call these services. And this is very easy, so you have access to all the remote services, so not only to the services that you write, but also to some of the standard services. And you can use this one then to create your local services. Okay, this will finalize the session for Federation Systems. Whenever you have questions, just take the commands at the bottom of this YouTube video, and I will try to answer as fast as possible. So have fun. Bye bye.